Good morning, Fairhaven. It is Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. Jim Killam here with some news headlines for you this morning. Hope you're having a good day so far. Today, history, got some good ones today, or actually some bad ones. 1865, this is the day that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater in Washington. April 14th, very bad day in U.S. history. In 1828, Noah Webster copyrighted the first edition of his dictionary. In 1860, the first Pony Express rider reached his destination of San Francisco. He had left St. Joseph, Missouri on April 3rd, so only 11 days to get from St. Joseph, Missouri to San Francisco. And 1912, the news gets worse here. Titanic hit the iceberg that would sink that ship the next morning. In 19 and Barbra Streisand resulted in the two sharing the Best Actress Oscar. And Katharine Hepburn that night broke the record as the only actress to win 3 Best Actress awards. Finally, in 2010, an explosion on a volcano in Iceland, and I cannot pronounce the name of that volcano, but it results in a volcanic ash plume in the atmosphere over northern and central Europe, and it even stopped air travel over that region for several days. So 2010 was that volcano eruption. Okay, some of today's headlines moving ahead here. Hours after 2 groups of governors announced on Monday that they were starting to plan the eventual easing of restrictions related to the coronavirus pandemic, President Trump asserted that the decision would be his. He says when somebody is the president of the United States, the authority is total, though he offered no legal or constitutional basis for this claim. Governor Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania, one of 7 governors in the Northeast who agreed to draw up a plan for reopening businesses and schools, said, seeing as we had the responsibility for closing the state down, I think we probably have the primary responsibility for opening it up. The governors of California, Oregon, and Washington announced a similar agreement. A sailor from the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt, who had the virus, has died. That's 2 weeks after the ship's captain requested help with an outbreak on board, and there was quite a flare-up over that, as you'll remember. Prime Minister Modi of India has extended a nationwide lockdown for nearly 3 more weeks. In Russia, President Vladimir Putin offered a bleak, so that's kind of a quick look around the world. Here in the U.S., South Dakota has become a COVID-19 hotspot after the governor resisted issuing a stay-at-home order. And we're seeing that in several states where the governors did resist that order, that there's quite a number of cases breaking out there. The U.S. death toll is nearing this, and more than 2,100 U.S. cities are bracing for budget shortfalls, with many planning cuts and layoffs. So again, the effect on the economy is still unsure, but this will affect economies long after the virus is past. Weather news today, at least 33 people were killed as a tornado outbreak slashed across the South Sunday and Monday, destroying homes and businesses and leaving numerous towns with widespread severe damage. This is from the Weather Channel. There were more than 60 reports of tornadoes as the storms that began on Easter Sunday tore a deadly and destructive path from Texas and Arkansas across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and even into the Carolinas and Tennessee. More than 1 million homes and businesses lost power as a result of the outbreak. On Monday, outages were the most significant in North and South Carolina, but every state from Texas to the Mid-Atlantic was affected. Local story here about essential businesses and who is an essential business. Nutrition Works owner Suzanne Cushman says her business is essential, but the city of Rockford says otherwise and has forced her to shut her doors. She says the city, on the advice of State Senator Dave Severson, Cushman said she kept the business open for another week, and then the city came back with a letter to say they were not essential, had to close immediately, and if they didn't, they would be fined $750 a day for every day they were open. So she had to close the business. Nutrition Works sells vitamins and supplements at 2 locations, and Rockford says they share the same frustrations as business owners and are doing their best to interpret the state's order. So they review each case and try to decide who should be open and who shouldn't be. No good answers on this, but it just kind of illustrates how hard this is to figure out. Lastly today, this is a cover story from Christianity Today magazine for this month. It is called "Who is My COVID-19 Neighbor?" And it's about the economic impact of the coronavirus on nonprofit groups, including churches, but also international ministries, international health organizations. I'll read part of this. The economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic threatens to decimate nonprofit groups. Churches forced to live stream or outright cancel worship services wonder what will happen when offering plates cannot be passed. Mission groups forced to halt international travel ask how long they can survive without sending workers into the field. Everyone worries about how big donors will respond as investments dissolve and business profits shrink. But the pandemic is a two-front war for organizations like One World Health, which operates 12 medical facilities in Central America and East Africa. Their fundraising efforts are being pummeled just as they scramble to get ahead of an anticipated onslaught of virus-related, where healthcare systems are already strained and in many places non-existent. If a nation as powerful and spread out as the United States has failed to get a handle on the virus, signs are not good for regions with high population densities, cultures of communal living, and deficient water and sanitation systems. So something for you to pray about, I guess. And as this says, the concern is obvious. Wealthy countries, once they've beaten back the inferno in their own backyards, may be too exhausted to run towards smoke on the horizon. In a firestorm, it's only human, even prudent, to worry about your own house and your next door neighbor's house. But the lesson of pandemics in a globalized era is that there are no clear boundaries between neighborhoods. Flames just don't jump streets, they jump continents. So interesting and kind of a deep article here about the long-term impact on the world and on ministries in particular. So I would just urge you to be praying about that, be praying for countries that have far less capacity to deal with this than we do. I know Lauren and I have friends in a lot of these places, and it's concerning just because of the number of people involved and the lack of capacity to deal with it. So anyway, that's our news for Tuesday. Hope you have a very good day. It's cold outside. It doesn't feel like spring. Spring is coming soon, we hope. So have yourself a great day, Fairhaven. God bless.